Hey, hey, how's everyone doing? Speaking into the void is trippy. How about a little Kwame Ture while we wait? Hello, Leslie. Hello, Carol. Should break out the guitar. It's not on hand though. Shout out to Mary, watching by any means. What's up, Jody? I think we'll give it a couple more minutes, and then I will begin. Let's see. Get the script right. Mm-mm-mm. Awkward silence. Uh, uh, just because it's always weird before you say some poems, and so my hats off to previous writers who are able to keep it peppery before they say poems. I, I I go to a place of extreme neuroses. I am hanging on for dear life. I'm speaking to you uh, live from Maloney Land, also uh, known as San Francisco. Where are you? You know, might as well might as well walk through the looking glass. Um, Thank you for watching the Furious Flowers Facebook Live reading series. For those of you who do not know, the Furious Flower Poetry Center at James Madison University is the nation's oldest academic center dedicated to black poetry. In the 25 years since the first Furious Flowers Conference and the 15 years of the center's brick and mortar existence, Furious Flowers programs have reached thousands of poets, educators, students, and poetry lovers around the world. From groundbreaking media and anthologies to summer seminars for educators and decade-defining conferences, Furious Flower has impacted literary communities on local, regional, national, and international levels by creating platforms for Black poets to encounter their readers and for readers to experience and engage with Black literary culture in new and exciting ways. This Facebook Live reading series is made possible by a grant from the National Endowment for the Arts. Thank you to the NEA. And now, awkwardly, I will move into the poems. All street life, to a certain extent, starts fair. Sometimes with a spiritual memory even. Pre-dying soul clap, your father dying even. Maybe I've pushed the city too far. My sensitivities to landfill districting and minstrel whistles. White supremacist graffiti on westbound rail guards all overcome and reauthored. Reauthored by revolutionary violence that chose its own protagonist or muted stage of genius. The garbage is growing voices. Condensed Marxism. For warrior depressives, underpasses in their pockets because they just might be deities or a decent bid on the Panther name, a merciful Marxism. Disquieted home life, a metaphor for relaxing next to a person who is relaxing next to a gun. I stare at my father for a few seconds, then return to my upbringing. Return to the souls of Ohio Black folks. You know, revolution down there pegging at this point. You know what the clown wants? The respect of the ant. Wants to interpret pain only. Wants to pull a 38 out of a begging bowl. Wants me to hurt my hand on this pen. I'm not tired of these rooms. Just tired of the world to give them a relativity. My only change of clothes prosecuted. The government has finally learned how to write poems, shootouts that briefly align and make up a parable like white bodies are paid well. Or do white men even have leaders? Are all white people white men? A rat pitches a river. Can almost taste the racial divide. Can almost roll a family member's head into a city hall legislative chamber. Knows who in this good book will fly. All I do is practice, Lord. Decided not to talk out of anger ever again. Met my wife at the same time I met new audience members for our pain. We passed each other cigarettes and watched cops win. A city gone uniquely linear, Harlem of the West do a true universe. I will always remember you in fancy clothes, my wife said. So here I sit, twisting in silk ideation. Rifle made of postbellum tar, targets made of an honest language. This San Francisco poetry is how God knows that it's me whining. Riding among the lesser respected wolves, lesser observed militarization, Dixie-less prison bookkeeping. I mean, the California gray coats are coming. Lynch mob gossip and bourgeois debt collection. I mean, it's tempting to change professions mid-poem. In a Chicago briefing, a white sergeant saying blank slate for all of us after this black organizer is dead. Standard academics toasting $2 wine at the tank parade. Bay of nothing, Lord. It's nuclear cobblestones, gun line athleticism, and the last of the inherited asthma. Children giving white dolls to play with in fear, facial expressions borrowed from rich people's shoestrings. I can hear hate and teach hate and call tools by people names and name people dead to themselves. No one getting naturalized except federal agents soon. Carving the equator in the throat, so I'm sorry to make you relive all of this, Lord. All this pre-9 monarchy friends putting up politician posters and snorting the remainder of the pace. Minstrel script shoveled into the walls by their elders. My children sharpening quarters on the city's edge. For these audiences, I project myself into a ghost-like state. For these gangsters, I do the same. Every now and then, take a nervous look, eat. Sleep becomes Christ. Sleep starts growing a racial identity. Do you ever spiral, Lord? As the gang age betrayed us, be patient with my poems, Lord. So much pain is a point to crime. I mean, there has to be a freight trader's come with it, Lord. Is that my revolver in your hand? You know, better presidents than these have yawned at cages, have called us holy slaves, filled the school libraries with cop documentaries, baby. I don't have money for food. Shit, I don't have a present moment at all. Societies wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen testaments been on offer me, a nation of breadwinners to hold me back like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence, turning away from a podium into the reeds like God is the dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop, balcony on my bedroom floor. You know, they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their foolish euphoria, from the loyalty oath of their grave superstitions, loyalty oath of their agrarian reforms. I return to my mother completely disrespected. You know, for peeling the heat off of purgatory, they kill poets like me. Walk me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this final industrial complex, or bloodlines picked over, picked through, sporting spiritual death of your devil at least half made, police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against your chump change and your chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. Cupid of needlework spelled tomb for the proletariat, the relapse ministry. Talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond, dying just another service day in the theatrics of tea house fascism. In a bouquet of surveillance cameras, in the poverty of God, new blue eyes, corpses of water, newly potted presidency. One big shiny coin if you ask animated capitalism and other non-literal voids, killing is white freedom. The deification of hyphens, medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in LA, guests of art, Inc., drop kicking roses in the graveyard. DC Mink like a stone torn in half. The pen advances, despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life, horn player improvising king. Like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism. May I return to the ground? May I make progress with the gun? My mother, Emmanuel. You know, they put on music that evening. A swinging type body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills for your body language. Some applause, my past stomach lining. Neither a good thing nor a bad thing. Like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading youth who surrendered their souls to Africa too soon. Polity thought floating in the cup of water she saved me, accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynched. Coat sleeves wooden and avalanche into the wrist. Our mother Emmanuel, pain. The deal you make with pain. Piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the world gradually, addressing the bending necks on the streets of the north, travelers sailing in pain, repeating pain in the north. 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would have me. Putting 100 fights on every direction offered her. Lady Day leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself, saying lay your plan out on this lightning, make your poems the corner pocket of men. I've greeted the blues itself. Now, America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. There goes the poet, killing without killing. Never mind this painting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching. A crow's passing, good and dead by the afternoon. I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative all over the United States. There are toddlers in the rock. I see why everyone out here got in a big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history or take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewage near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti. In the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part. My body brings down to Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 28th hour's next beauty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration. The waistband before the next protest post. Hey, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You are witty, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. Hey, it is only raining one thing. Non-white cops and prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill. A neighborhood making a lot of fuss over its demise. A new late for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder. The figment of village. A new noose to a new white preacher. All in an abstract painting of a president. They bought slavery some time, didn't they? The tantric screeches of military bolts and election Tuesday cars. A cold-blooded study in leg irons. Proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses. That sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque peach plastic and boat action audiences. The Medgar Evers second is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondled news clippings and primitive Methodists. My arm changes imperialisms. Simple policing versus structural frenzies. Elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums. Artless bleeding and the challenge of watching civilians think of terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm going to go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads in the arrows myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crest. Modern fans of war. Well, with their t-shirt poems and t-shirt guilt and me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus, I have no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. You know, apparently too much of San Francisco was not there in the first place. This dream requires more condemned Africans, or put another way, state violence rises down, or still life is just getting warmed up, or army life is looking for a new church and ignored all other suggestions, or folktale writers have not made up their minds as to who's going to be their friends. Look, this is the worst downtown yet. And I've borrowed a cigarette everywhere. I've taken many a walk to the back of a bus that led on out the back of a storyteller's prison sentence, then on out the back of slave scars, but this is my comeback face. I left my watch on the public bathroom sink and took the toilet with me. Threw it at the first bus I saw, eating single mothers half alive, and flew through the bus line number, then on out the front of the White House. Hey, hopefully you find comfort downtown, but if not, we brought you enough cigarette filters to make a decent winter coat. Special species of handshake, let's all know who's king and what's the lifespan of uniform cloth. This coffin needs to quit acting like those are birds singing. Rusty nails have no wings, have no voice other than that of a white world dying. They're book pages in the gas pump. Catchy, isn't it? The way 3 nooses is the rule, or the way potato sack masks go so well with radio codes, or the way condemned Africans fought their way back to the ocean only to find waves made of 1920s burnt up piano parts, European backdoor deals, and red flowers for widows who spent all day in the sun mumbling in San Francisco. Red flowers, but what's the color of a doctor visit? There are book titles in the streets. Book titles like Hero, You Make a Better Zero, or Hey Fur Coat Lady, the President is Dead, or Pay Me Back in Children, or They Hung Up Their Bodies in Their Own Museums, and other book titles pulled from a drum solo. Run here, hero. Lie at the hiding place. All the bullets in 10 precincts know where to go. There's no heaven or any other good idea in the sky. Politics means that people did it, people do it. Understand that when it's San Francisco and other places that was never really there. I bet this ocean thinks it's an ocean, but it's not. It's just 60 Mission Street. I don't know who's king. King of thin things, you know. Like America, I'm proud to deserve to die. I'm going to eat my dinner extra slow tonight in this police state candy dispenser you all call a neighborhood. No set of manners goes unpunished. Never mind a murderer's insomnia or the tea kettle preparing everyone for police sirens. A tour guide through your robbery, they also are. Cigarette saying, look what I did about your silence. Ransom water and box spring gold, this decade is only for accent grooming, I guess. Ransom water and box spring gold, the corner store must die. War games, I guess, all these tongues rummage junk. You know, the start of mass destruction begins and ends in restaurant bathrooms that some people use and other people clean. Are you telling me there's a rag in the sky waiting for you? Yes. We've written a scene, we set a stage, we should have been in warehouse jobs for communists, but now more corridor and hallway have walked into our lives. Now the whistling is less playful and the barbed wire overcrowded too, my dear. If it is not a city, it is a prison. If it has a prison, it is a prison, not a city. When a courtyard talks on behalf of military issue, all walks take place outside of the body. Dear life to your left, a medieval painting to your right. None of this really makes an impression. Crop people living in thin air. You have 5 minutes to learn how to see through this breeze. When a mask goes sideways, barbed wire becomes the floor. Barbed wire becomes the roof. 40 feet into the sky becomes out of bounds. When a mask breaks in half, mind which way the eyes go. You know they killed the world for the sake of giving everyone the same backstory. We watching Gary, Indiana fight itself into the sky. Old pennies for win for that win feeling you get before the hood goes up and over your headache. Pennies that stick together, mocking all aspirations. I mean, stuck together pennies was the first newspaper I ever read, along with the storefront dwelling army that always lets us down, where the Holy Spirit favors the backroom souls in a situation that offer 100 ways to remain a loser. Souls watching a clock, hoping their eyes don't lie to sad people. What was we talking about again? The narrator asked the graveyard at 10 minutes flat. Said the graveyard, the funeral only took 10 minutes. Man, never tell that to anyone again. You just gonna pin the 90s on me? All 30 years of them? Then why should I know the difference between sleep and satire? The pyramid of corner stores fell on our heads. We died right away. That building wants to jump up and climb and jump off another building. These are downtown decisions. Somewhere on this planet, it's August 7th, and we running down the rest thinking one more needs to come with me. Man, what evaporated on Earth so that we could be sent back down? I'm off to make a church bell out of a bank window. Kitchens meant more to the masses back in the day, and before that we had no enemy. Somewhere in America, the prison bus is running on time. You're going to lose your job before a revolution hits. And somewhere I won't be home for breakfast. Everyone out here now knows my name and I won't be turned against for at least 4 months. The cop in the picket line is a hard-working rookie. The sign in my hands is getting more and more laughs. It says, the picket line got cops in it. I can take care of those windows for you if you want, but someone else got to go inside your gas tank. It was clear to the man that rich people had talked too much this year. And why don't you go ahead and throw down that marble park bench everyone's looking up at you? Get the Romans out of your mind. Maybe a good night's sleep would have changed the last 20 years of my life playing an instrument. Playing instruments like punching the wall. What would you have me do? Replace the population, give brotherhood back to the winter, stop smoking cigarettes with the barely dead. They listen in on the Sabbath. Police called the police on me. There was a white candlestick beneath my detention. I ruined the soup again, thought the judge as he took off his pilgrim robe behind a white people's door. M1. I didn't get lucky. I got what was coming to me, he told. Say, fight me back, the man said. Of course, to himself, washing windows with a will to live. Tin can on his left shoulder, enjoying the bright, brand new black with all party goers, both supernatural and supernaturally down to earth. What the fuck is this elevator? Traveling side to side? Like 1,000 bitter Polaroid pictures that you actually try to eat all the furniture on this street, nailed to the cement, cheap furniture, but we have commitment. This morning, an essay opens a conversation between enemies. Why? Because you control every grain of processed sugar between here and a poor man's board. Because in the tin can on my left shoulder, I can hear the engines of deindustrialization. You should get in the painting. Tell lies more deeply. This month, I'm rooting for the traitor. Carting cement to my pillow here, we will build them high again. Not talking much. Hey, why don't you climb up the organ pipe to our apartment floor? I'm high again, calling everything church, singing along to a courtyard, thanks to a horn player's holy pastor. I'm just putting a real jacket on it, Talk about a real 5 years. Keep memories like these in the pocket next to the toll receipt. That man lost a wager with the God of good causes. Stood up for himself a little too late. Maybe too early. I could still see 20 angles of his jaw zigzagging through the cold world of deindustrialization. There's an art to it. I will tell my closest friends one day. First I should have apologized to the souls of the house. Because I'm wearing the cheekbones of the mask only. Like a pill bottle whose name is yours, name tagged on the side of a factory of wrists. Teeth of the mask now. Back of the head of the mask now. A new phase of anti-anthropomorphism fending for real faces. Stuck with one of those cultures that believes I chose this family. I am not creative, just the silliest of the revolutionaries. My blood drying on my only jacket, the police state psychic middleman evangelizing for the creation of an unmasses, an unmedgar, blood of a lamb less racialized or awesome prison sentence. Good God. Right angle made between a point on Louisiana plantation and a 5-year-old's rubber ball. 3 feet high and falling like a deportee plane to complete my interpretation of garden variety genocide. I am small talk about loving your enemies a little more realistically. About paper tigers and also gold. I need my left hand back. Broke my neck on a piano key, found paradise in a fist fight. Maybe I should check into the Cuban line. Watching the Universal last metronome, some call Black Jacobins. They just wait. These religions will start resigning in a decade or two. Some colorfully, some transactionally in a cotton gothic society, class betrayal, gone glasses. Ironically, my window started fogging over too as I was trying to figure out which Haiti would get me through the winter, which poem houses souls. With socialist breakthroughs. Breakthroughs like taking 10 steps back, then finally trying stillness, like introducing Gabriel Prosser to Thelonious Monk. I remember childhood. Remember the word childhood being a beginning. Scribbling on an amazing grace, I rented this body from some circumference of slavery. Remember being kicked out the Midwest, strange fruit theater, lithium in circuses, like-minded stomachs, the ruling class blessing their blank checks with levy phone, with opioid tea, sentient dollar bills yelling to each other, pocket to pocket. Cello stands in the precinct for accompanying counter-revolutionaries. My mother raised me with a simple pain. The poet loses his mind like the room has weather or first girlfriend gravity. Difference between me and you is that the madness wants me forever. Pair of apartments defining both my family and political composure. Books behind my back, bail money paved into the streets playing euphoria, cliche. Bracing for the medicine's recoil. Sharing a dirty deli sandwich with my friends. Black Jacobins. Underground topography of a grandmother's hands. Psychology of the mask now. Teeth of the mask again. Guided by teeth goes this country. There's a cow's mouth on the flag. A peculiar notepad holds street life dear, but the writer's not here. He's somewhere talking to tombstones about the good old days of splashing reborn water on his latest face. I'm wondering how his old gun is doing in the afterlife. Wondering how much death trap is in those gas station houses, man. It got to be $1 million a day on this concrete island. New engine in the moon, why it never goes down. I mean, 72 straight hours a night, at least according to everyone's posture around here. 8:30 in the morning is really 30 minutes to closing. The city shuts down for a sleepy rat race. Elevators shoe shuffle to the nearest heaven, laughing with rats the whole way up, man. There's scabs everywhere in puddles of city and concentrated schools and TV lit warm rooms. The light reveals military fatigue. When it hits just right on the ties that are wrapped around the necks of lazy white guys, empire is too easy, baby. Chant at the walls all summer if you feel like it. Best way for a target to move is shooting back, running for a tree line made of freeways. Wisdom says against a war machine on Tuesday you stand no chance, but may we be the last poor people to play it safe. Cow's mouth on the flag. Politician raises his hand and the crowd shows their teeth. Oligarch raises his hand. Little girls are not safe outside. You are all high, depressed, and comrades in function. 15 minutes of closing and the city has survived another black rebellion. We just paying dues by trash fires not just anybody can set. Don't you love how deadly things whisper in the moment and people kill like feathers fall? Everybody screaming inside. The writer knows that death is not a matter of dignity, rather humor. In a house that smells like roach races, nuclear percentages on torn stoves. I mean, here life never was just lazy matches and mannequin humanity, hands rushing away from life towards stoves. What we doing here is surviving for no reason in particular, because nobody gone far today, nobody will go far tomorrow. Trust me, hell and heaven cannot count. Strange gardens where secondhand clothes play, and concrete wishes to be human so that it could be a cannibal. Where they find you drenched, and drains wish to be human so that they could be worthy arms for you to die in. Greet them all, grandson. Prepare for the day when every child is common. Don't say we ghosts didn't write you a poem. Don't say we didn't dig your life. Remember the shotgun by the coat rack that everybody in the house knows how to use? Remember the tightrope made of needles for walking in between driveways and man-made best friends? Go ahead, grandson. Tune the street again. Never mind, this country kills musicians first. Broken neck night, scarred neck life. If these walls could write lyrics, they say, what's your angle, Angel Eyes? 30, 50 rounds pass by on a street with no daughters. This street has no sons, just young prisoners of war. In a racist city that means to make capital, and we know so much. We know it all. We were stood against walls. Who's on the third cross around here? Cow's mouth, salivating over the street. And that is the story of why we aim at teeth. You know, capitalists eat until the world is blurry to them. These streets are made of saliva. Some people made of saliva too. They usually got on uniforms. While a crazy man spins round and round trying to make a record out of this mass production jungle, maybe I'll join them, count cash and cry. These streets are made of saliva and white sheets are worn by a building in which kids are supposed to learn how to read well. White sheets on the highway too. Another mayor needs their head on a pike. One down is just one down, but you know, if you tell all this to the masses, your teacher will pipeline you. They told me I was jewelry. They told me this is jungle. Well, maybe not jungle, more like 50 machine guns planted in the ground. It's raining faces again in California. What does this say about heaven? What does this say about the people you killed? Wait lines got so exhausted, a million minds dropped all these faces at once. If the fascists can read the lips of a giant talking in his sleep, we might as well make our demands in prison letters. Today was born the most important trigger finger in the world. Today I began counting down the pages between now and a pile of books by a tunnel. You know, Chicago is going to walk out of Chicago one day. Babies will drag street signs like old toys. Today, the most important letter left prison. Babies will laugh at flags like faces that have disappeared. Maybe I'll join them. But for now, these streets are made of saliva. And we raised half full glasses to the basements that meant nothing. And the working poor who live there, we get shot. We get white sheets on California, where the kitchen table likes to talk as much as the walls, and romance on the porch consists of hard design. I mean, in this picture, characters talk spit and know that they hard to kill. The kitchen table knows this. The porch is almost convinced that one down is just one down. This town is coming to town. A circus watching itself. Half distracted, half suicidal, thrilled children dressed as cops, thrilled children preaching and policing and intaking and hiring and snatching your money. This town come to town with tough trademarks to follow. Today I watched capitalism walk on water. And people play dead so that they could be part of a miracle. And you can tell by my tires that not everybody who's driven with me is still alive, man. Also, that I like my drinks neat bottled and in a bus stop. Also, that we drown in precinct paper, department store floor plans, and applications to the moon. I mean, we could change the color of our snot from gifted to heart attack. Tell you about asking, where are all these angels coming from smelling like the cigarette that fails? And why is the man on the safe side of his headlights freezing up? You got nothing to say at my funeral, I'll speak on your behalf. Heroin in my smile, mountain made of flatland robbery among some things on my mind. The last door run in the name of shared afterlife. Friday to the filter. I'm a tall tale on earth. But here's to that angel that never appeared to America. And in a night of dog paddle. And a batch of hangovers looking for him. You know, a liar wouldn't have lived this long. That's my humor when fences speak. On a pair of rambling dice that got unique tempers and young souls that say, shut up about our city. And here title months crash over a coast wide lie. The streets teeth are in pieces. There's reservoir art on the faces of stragglers. There's sad news from back home. I mean, we have to grow up on his behalf. Stumble back to a car full of last stand. The truth is stale but still liquor. Mission Street will be proud of me. I'm a mural man, almost organized. Remember when my lungs would wake up last? Walking all morning if it was worth this shit. I'm 3 decades homeless. And reservoir art is all I ever see. And I'm 2,000 miles from my first fight. Maybe no one really survived. Maybe I wrote my first poem for no reason. I talk facing away from the dead. They replaced me with the change in my pocket. A penny that's yet to be invented. They say you have to know how to cut a throat on the way to cutting a throat. After sleeping on a mattress made from 2 garbage bags of clothes, I became content with the small gestures of plantation fires. I mean, playing with couch ashes, I realized how weird the universe was. And it exists in so many places, so many random things. It interrupts me while I'm trying to dream. Like your clay correspondence, Lord. To be transparent, I have 20 books next to a bullet like an old man giving advice at the beginning of a revolution. I've really done it, Lord. I explored the mumbles of my mind. I explored what's naturally there, and I found no brainwashing. I found Africa, Lord. I have a future. It takes place in the diasporic South. I have morning possessions. Modern militancy. I mean windows to the South. I'll walk on a missile for food. I guess you will not want flowers for a few years, Lord. Will I be tied face to face with the country I murdered? Merge with us, Lord. My old metal versus new metal. Our old metal versus pool of meandering imperialist faces, a multiculturalism of sorts. The dead replaced me with a comedian's chest cavity instead of a chest cavity held tight. It takes a violent middleman for me to talk to myself. Stories that travel through other people's stories. A song about a song, a hemisphere about a hemisphere. Stories that travel through a conquered poet. My mother remembers Africa, Lord. She killed on behalf of you, Lord. I wore a machete all winter and no one asked me what it meant. I read 1,000 books in front of the world. What I do is fight poems and sleep through decadent San Francisco prayer circles. Watch people play for post-working class associative surfaces or recreations of a governor's desk. Ruling class art of utility, playing fine and sociopathic bureaucrat. A day some white people scared, even easier. TV in a basket next to a ceramic baby wearing ceramic armor. Musket progeny fantasizing through the art of the poor. The trendy latches locked before God. Black art hunted down like a dog. Hand over my friends, Lord. Lord, I think I'm going to die in the war. Unelected white people in my small house like a blues song with no spiritual effect. A dollhouse H-bomb, a pony show near dead bodies, and apartheid weddings that go right. Apartheid white people who give birth to mathematicians. The spiritual continuity of barracks and police stations. The chemical interpretation of a Sunday trip to church. Church bells in their pockets, a river mistaken for a talking river, no autobiography outside of small personal victories of violence and drug use made in the image of God's trinkets, what white abolitionists confided in their children about. Chemical assurances that they will switch from black artist to white artist, from black God to white God, from black worker to white worker. You know, I think about you cautiously, Lord. In the same way I think about my childhood, Lord. Foxhole Friday nights, most of life is mute. A comedian points out a planet's field to a priest. King Sugarcane, King Cotton, King Revolutionary, the Bible is central, containing all modes of shallow introduction, introducing, an unlisted planet class speaking about fevers and balance sheets and reassuring the masses that we can figure out our fathers later. You know, a priest took my mother lightly, Lord. Stood in front of parishioners, re-raveling fantasies about black art. Priest reading confidently before I broke him and broke his parallel. After the day, I've never been a poet before. Little brother watches his big brother's friends. They lean rifles on sheltered walls. They agree with me and call it literature. It's a simple matter, this revolution thing. To really lie to no one. To keep nothing godlike. To write a poem for God. Okay. The end. uh, now, welcome to the question portion of the evening, morning. Yeah. What are there any questions? Oh, I was I was giving some hold over question. I was prepped for this moment. um, oh, can't see it fast enough. What am I reading right now? I'm supposed to be reading Black Reconstruction, but I've been I you know Netflix got me right now. Yeah. But I want I've been meaning to crack Black Reconstruction because I think the best analysis of this moment is a kind of is basically what you're looking at is a neo-Confederate tendency that the recent kind of political moments point to, and so to look at that previous incarnation of that Confederate push, neo-Confederate push, I think would be instructive. But let me see. How do you navigate meaning? Or how does it navigate you? I don't know. I'm not trying to spin the question. But this is something. No, this makes me this makes me think of something that I said before. But I really try to engage different facets of reality on its own terms. I mean, of course, to me, everything in the context of a dialectical materialist analysis, right, of society. Um, but along the way, I try to stick to the basics of each kind of facet of reality, and then let whatever hybrids like a poem arise. Also, just try to facilitate that, or facilitate the navigation itself through appropriate rules, if that makes sense. Um, what am I watching on Netflix? It's bad. I'm a cornball. So just think of the corniest things on here. That's what I'm watching. Let's see. Love the volume and speed changes during the reading. Can you talk about how you plan for those when writing? I don't. That the speed and intensities and all of that is improvised. In a way, the reading poems is really like a meditation, in which actually, like, if what I'm consciously doing is trying to get myself to a kind of an open space where basically I can let the kind of meandering energies that I have no control over, and the meandering trains of thought of the poems kind of meet in different places and create a kind of an illusion of personality, or even an illusion of persona, and little kind of finite, really finite deals that the specific words wherever I'm at are making with the specific energy wherever I'm at, and and then I just reset. So really, what you're looking at is just like 1,000 resets, where it's like, so I catch something and I write it until my mind, or until the moment or that second seems to calcify, or starts calcifying, and then I just let it go, like disappear and then reappear as something else, or disappear with the faith that I'll reappear as something else. So it's that's pretty much the mechanics of it. When I write slow. Again, back to the kind of equation of just like, or I write not energized. Um, uh, uh, the back to the equation of giving things its due. Like, so, the world of the page is the world of the page. The world of saying the poems is the world of saying the poems. And though certain tactics apply to both, like I found that the more kind of like meditative you can put your mind in, the better you can kind of just facilitate both processes. But when in both, they rarely meet. I will, like, when at the end of, when a poem is done, I will kind of say the poem in the final stages of editing. I might say a poem out loud, nowhere near like what I just did, but I'll say it out loud to kind of listen for hiccups. It's kind of like, man, when you're editing any type of writing. Did they ever tell y'all this in school? Like, the final, when you're finally editing your essay, like read it out loud. You'll catch little mistakes better that way. Similarly, I'll say it out loud because I'm looking for, I'm looking for lines that are actually too psychedelic, or jar even me, or too make somebody work too hard, or just like a too internal, like a joke between the voices in my head, like, it doesn't really have relevance to, to a reader in the same way. So I look for that. I look for what makes me uncomfortable, and then I chop it. But that's like super on the back end. Um, Describe my, wait. Let me make sure I didn't miss something. Do you come straight off the dome? No. Um, who are your poetic influences? Like, super no. I'm awkward, man. I don't even have that kind of confidence. Thank God for writing. You know what I mean? I'd be a non-communicative human being if I didn't have that the opportunity of writing, which is to take the edge off of real time communication. The who are my poetic influences? Um, you know, I mean, I think inevitably, Gil Scott Heron was just playing in the house. I enjoyed Common. I was a big Common fan. Amiri Baraka as well. Um, so they probably are influences just by virtue of me listening. Um, I think, luckily, I, I wasn't. How I put it, like, it more, I guess, was the influence on my subconscious. Nina Simone, John Coltrane. I think all of those great big spirits, those great big souls, are all kind of instructive, or just, kind of. I think more than anything, more than the influence, I was looking at other of the greats, regardless of discipline. I was, it's like they give you the standard Like this is where your craft should be. You know, this is how open you should be. Um, if that makes sense. But I I bet why I'm stuttering is because I actually I advocate not having influences or not, not playing people too close. It's especially poetry because poetry is actually super intimate as far as the engagement um, between poet and reader because it's really like my thoughts are going to be our thoughts for the next, for whatever, the next 10, 20 minutes or whatever it is, or the remainder of this book. It's really letting someone's mind into your mind. So when you're like putting your voice together, it's best to just kind of like to bounce around yourself, bounce off yourself, and let your actual praxis, like how you actually live, what you learn away from the page, what you do from what you do away from the page. Let that, um, you know, engine your evolution. Um, Describe the writing process. I find it best to just to put on a timer. Put on like 2 hours and just write. I don't think about poem products like I'm going to write a poem now. I just think of writing poetry. So I'll just put a timer on. I'm supposed to be doing that daily, but the aforementioned slips into the world of streaming. Um, Let me see. Oh, and sorry, and delivery. I think where I spoke on, delivery as meditation. Let's see. Um, Tell us about the journey of poetry and current journey as poet laureate of San Francisco. Um, Man, you know what I might liken it to on the spot. I would liken. I'm kind of like now. I'm not in the grandiose way. Straight only in the kind of like the metaphor. Man, I'm kind of like Jonah, man. I like turn my back on it, get swallowed by a whale, spit back up. You know what I'm saying? But I probably went in the whale about 4 times. The story the story of my journey is probably that of not doing enough justice to my craft, and it kind of it took some time for it to move to that kind of central self identity. Um, I think another journey was, another theme in the journey was learning to, um, like, learning to write board. I took a big step in, like, to take euphoria out of the equation. Like when you have a knack for something, when you do it, it makes you feel good. Writing with that dance with euphoria can shrink you. Not shrink you, but you tunnel. Euphoria makes you tunnel. And so I just kind of stumbled onto the reality that when I was kind of just bored writing from writing with no high promise, I gained a kind of a lucidity of craft, and so that has been a journey, and now it's moved even more to just kind of actually like trying to write actually as far away from my more conspiratorial mind, the one that wants Tongo's revenge, what I mean? Yeah, to kind of actually to get to move closer to subconscious voices, and see what they have to say or see how they move. Um, So that has been a journey, kind of just minding my internal weather while writing. Poet laureate thing, it's really like if I was to say like professionally, man, my poetry journey has just been like one of just one thing leading to another. I just kind of take it one poem at a time, one line at a time, then one poem at a time. One reading at a time, one conversation at a time. Just try to do my best by this line, do my best by this poem, and then what happens after that happens. A general philosophy actually I was given by there was this blues guitarist pulled my coat and he was just like basically turn down nothing. All right, turn down no gig basically. Like there's nothing nothing actually superfluous. And it's all either practice or will lead to something. So I just, you know, have gun will travel. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Yeah, Bob Kaufman for sure is definitely a beast. How much black church is in your experience, your poetry? Not super official. I mean, I read the whole Bible. I did. I have to admit that. You know what I'm saying? But I wasn't. I wasn't raised in the church. The a few times that I went have been groovy. Um, but I think more. I play with what's thrown at me. Or I play, and I don't mean that like though maybe it's too harsher kind of action. Just whatever is running through the mass imagination, I pick it out of the sky, and I play with it. So a lot of probably like like religious uh, moves are kind of made on the back end, but it's not a personal. It's not personal. If I have offended anyone, I do that. It's not personal. Uh, Black Freighter Press, yes. So myself and a sister named Allie Jones uh, created a press called Black Freighter. Named after the Nina Simone rendition of Pirate Jenny out of the Three Penny Opera, and is a few there are kind of like a few threads, a few origin stories. To tell you all the truth, I mean, one really just to kind of to be of some help. Um, I would like talking you talk we poets, not again not in like I'm stuttering because it's like not in a huge way, not like come pick my brain, I know things, but like a poet would be asking for advice or this or that, and I would just be thinking in my head like, you don't need advice, you just need a break, you just need an opportunity. So a big part of this is just to give poets that first that first opportunity, because you do kind of need it. It's funny, like you can have the exact same poems, but if I could take all these poems I just said, if all I had to show was me just printing them up myself, I wouldn't get down the street. It's something about it's just mass psychology. People want to see is been number, you know what I mean? There's some kind of stamp or whatever. So it's like just kind of providing that, or just really rendering unto Caesar, so that more people can get their journey going, or move their journey to that, to that. I don't want to say altitude, because who's to say what's actually where the superior poem is actually written, but to help people move along. Um, and then also, man, we want to capture means of production. Now, it's cultural production on a very small scale, but I think creating people's structure is crucial, or creating people's structure is what scaffolds a revolutionary stage of a society. Because it's just, with more and more exercises of actually determining reality ourselves is crucial, you so this is our small effort to capture means of production. And then also, we on our first slate is a poet who's currently doing life in prison. So we're trying to also put out a lot of incarcerated writers as well. Be a channel for them to use. Uh, and probably more. Those are the three things I would emphasize. hmm Well, did I miss questions? I apologize if I do. Let me see here. I think yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, I got to all the questions. Oh, advice to the next generation of poets. Mm, you gotta be a revolutionary first. Before you are anything, you're either a revolutionary or counter-revolutionary. That really the only there's just one main contradiction between the ruling class and us. That is what drives reality, and you have to, lend your hands to the more principal contradictions. Um, if I have any strength, as a poet, it's just because I evaluate the entirety of my life on what I'm doing, to actually um, contribute to a revolutionary stage in society, in this society. So I would actually say, you know, your praxis away from the page is important. And Coltrane said something similar. Not again. I'm not trying to put myself on any type of level, but like when a horn player asked him, "How do I become a better horn player?" and Coltrane said, "Become a better person." So it's like kind of minding the bigger pictures, or minding the other kind of gravity fields that that you allow your soul to be influenced by and pulled by. That's where your true evolution happens. And your evolution as a human being um, is your evolution as an artist. Without that, you're not. It doesn't matter how slick Doesn't matter how slick you are. It doesn't matter how good your memory is or your powers of retention or anything like that. If you're not an evolving human being, um, you're only gonna you're not you're barely scratching the surface of your potential. And that's why and that's why the system is set up to inhibit your evolution and distract your evolution, right? Because they don't want us to be whole human beings. You know. Oh, in this last minute, I want to announce coming up June 4th, Nandy Comer, and June 11th, Terry Ellen Cross Davis will be taking over. Also consider signing up for this year's Summer Legacy Seminar featuring Haki Madubuti. It runs from June 21st to 25th and is virtual for the first time ever. Please go to the website, jmu.edu/Furious Flower. And yeah, in conclusion, all power to the people.